Ella's words only drew attention to the fact that as far as Wynn could see, they didn't even have a strategy. What they had was a problem of epic, not to say biblical, proportions. An army of evil minions appeared determined to set the seven, at least one of whom was already at least half awake, loose on humanity, and 5 decidedly unsuperheroes were all that stood against those assembled forces of darkness. If the situation had been the plot of a summer blockbuster movie, Wynn would have dismissed it as totally unrealistic and just assumed the good guys would wind up with nothing but bloody stumps to perch their white hats on. Okay, so maybe that was a little harsh. Wynn supposed that 2 of their band of brave bedlamites actually did count as heroes. She, Ella, and Felicity, a.k.a. Phil, might be nothing more than puny humans, but Keese and Spar were bona fide guardians. If those guys didn't qualify as heroes, then the definition needed some serious editing. As a race, the Guardians had come into being to protect humanity from the 7 demons, an evil so powerful that when joined together, they could rip the very fabric of reality into pieces and condemn the world to an eternity of suffering. The Guardians, 7 warriors who took the shape of stone gargoyles when resting in the times between battles, had been summoned to Earth by a group of human magic users known as the Guild of Wardens, specifically to fight against the 7. When defeated, the demons had been bound in separate prisons so they could never achieve their goal of conquest. In Wynn's book, that made the Guardians heroes. Unfortunately, it would take all 7 Guardians to face the threat that loomed over them today, and so far Wynn had only noticed 2 of them being conscious and ready for action. Everyone had been counting on the dust at her feet to make number 3. So what the hell were they supposed to do now? Wynn stepped back from the blast site and winced. She'd sprained her ankle a couple of weeks ago wrangling with the Nocturnus, the shorthand name for the members of the Order of Eternal Darkness, in another city, and the joint still gave her a twinge when she moved wrong. With a grim expression, she shifted her weight and took a belated look around her. The driver's door of her battered white Toyota hung drunkenly open, and the buzz of the alarm told her that she hadn't even bothered to take the keys out of the ignition when she'd caught sight of the scene of destruction. She'd rounded the curve of the drive, seen the hole in the ground surrounded by stony rubble, and her stomach had done an Olympic-caliber dive straight into the soles of her sandals. She had slammed on her brakes, thrown the shift into park, and flown straight to the debris field. As if rushing could have turned back the clock. She'd obviously been too late, which was not the way she wanted to go into this battle. Half a step behind wasn't going to cut it when it came to stopping the Order from succeeding with their plans. In fact, it had cost a life back in Montreal. One of Phil's friends became another victim sacrificed to the 7, and Phil herself had nearly ended up the same way. It had been a close call, and something told Wynn there would be more of those before this thing ended. She had never considered herself to have any particular precognitive abilities. She was a witch, not a psychic. She couldn't see into the future, no matter how much she might want to, a fact attested to by her generally really weak divination skills. Her powers ran more along the lines of powering charms, hex removal, and herbology, hence her small business making soaps, lotions, ointments, and teas, which supported her pretty nicely. Ask her to whip up a remedy for itchy, dry skin, and Wynn was your girl. Ask her what would happen if you took a certain path into the future, and all she could tell you was that time would pass. Not exactly useful stuff. Power, the kind of power that passed down through her mother's family, had its own agenda in Wynn's experience. Possessing it made her a witch, but she didn't get to choose what form it took. The power did what it wanted, and she could either accept that and learn what it wanted to accomplish, or she could fight it and try to make it do her bidding, which usually just ended in frustration and a lot of nasty side effects for everyone and everything in the vicinity. It had taken her a while to stumble onto that realization, and even longer to come to terms with it. When she had been a little girl, Wynn was certain down to her bones that she had been